The restaurant wasn't fancy, but my mother liked places that pretended to be. Low lighting, clothes, napkins. A waiter who introduced himself like we were attending a ceremony instead of a birthday dinner. My brother Jason sat at the center of the table, like he always did at family events. Not because he asked to be there. It just happened naturally, the way conversations bent toward him without anyone noticing. 29 years old. Another promotion, another toast waiting to happen. I arrived a few minutes late, which meant the table was already warm with laughter. My mother waved me over with a smile that carried the faintest hint of relief, like she'd been worried I might not show up. "You made it," she said. I said I would. I sat down, placing my coat on the back of the chair. The envelope stayed in my jacket pocket. No one asked about it. Dinner moved the way family dinners usually do. Layers of small talk stacked over older patterns nobody directly mentioned. Jason talked about work. My dad nodded approvingly. My mother filled in details that made the story sound slightly more impressive than Jason had originally described. Across the table, I listened and occasionally added a comment when the conversation drifted towards something neutral. No one was rude, not exactly, but there's a difference between being included and simply being present. I'd learned that distinction a long time ago. Growing up, Jason had always been the easy child. Teachers liked him, coaches liked him. My parents liked how easy it was to explain his path to other people. He's focused, he's driven, he knows where he's going. My story was always told differently. He's figuring things out, which meant something between as uncertain and temporary. But adulthood has a quiet way of rearranging responsibilities. While Jason built a career in another city, I stayed closer to home, closer to my parents, closer to the practical things that come with aging houses, complicated paperwork, and problems that don't fit neatly into weekend visits. None of that made good dinner conversation, so most of it stayed invisible. The waiter brought out the cake after the main course, chocolate. My mother stood slightly as she lifted her glass. "Before we cut this," she said, "I want to make a toast." Everyone quieted. Jason grinned like someone accustomed to this moment. My father raised his glass too. My mother looked at Jason with a warmth that felt rehearsed from years of repetition. "To Jason," she said. A few people murmured agreement. Then she laughed lightly and added, "Let's celebrate the child who actually matters." The table erupted in laughter. It wasn't cruel laughter, more like the easy laughter people fall into when a joke confirms something they already assume. Jason shook his head, smiling. "Oh, come on, Mom." But he didn't correct her. I smiled too, not because the joke was funny, because I recognized something final in the way it landed. There's a moment sometimes when a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Not dramatic, just clear. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope. The motion was calm enough that nobody paid attention at first. I slid it across the table toward my mother. "If that's the case," I said quietly, "then this should probably belong to him." She looked down at the envelope, confused. "What's this?" "Something I've been handling for a while." Jason leaned slightly closer, curious. "Is it a card?" he asked. "Not exactly." My mother opened the envelope. Inside was a packet of documents, not thick, but official enough that the tone of the table changed the moment she saw the letterhead. She began reading. The smile faded first, then the color in her face shifted slightly. "What is this?" she asked again, softer now. Jason leaned across to see. My father adjusted his glasses. "It's the refinancing agreement for the house," I explained. Silence settled slowly across the table. The restaurant around us continued moving, plates clinking, conversations humming, but our table had gone still. My mother looked back at the paper. "You've been paying this for 3 years." Jason blinked. "What? What?" My father looked genuinely confused. "You said the bank handled all that." "The bank handles the loan," I said. "Someone still has to make the payments." The room stayed quiet. Jason stared at the documents again. "You've been covering Mom and Dad's mortgage?" "Part of it," I said. "The part that kept them from losing the house after Dad's business slowed down." My mother looked like she was trying to rearrange the past few years in her mind. "You never said." "There wasn't really a reason to." Jason shifted in his chair. "Why are you showing this now?" I nodded toward the envelope. "Because the agreement allows the supporting party to withdraw with 60 days' notice." My father finally spoke. "You're withdrawing." "I'm transferring the option," I said calmly. Jason frowned. "To who?" I met his eyes for the first time that evening. "To the child who actually matters." The words hung in the air longer than I expected. Not sharp, not angry, just literal. Jason looked back down at the paperwork. "You're serious?" "Yes." My mother looked between us, suddenly unsettled. "You can't just—" "I can," I said gently. "The bank confirmed it this morning." No one spoke for a while. Jason read the page again. "This is a lot of money," he said quietly. "I know." My father leaned back in his chair slowly, absorbing something he hadn't realized existed. My mother folded the paper once, then unfolded it again, like she hoped it might change. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" I thought about that for a moment. "Because it needed to get done." Jason shifted in his chair. "And now?" "Now someone else can decide if it still does." The cake sat untouched in the center of the table. Eventually, the waiter came by, noticed the tension, and quietly stepped away without interrupting. Dinner ended not long after. No one argued. There was too much thinking happening for that. Outside the restaurant, we stood in the cold for a moment before going our separate ways. Jason held the envelope under the streetlight, still reading. My mother looked smaller than she had earlier in the evening. I put my hands in my pockets and started toward my car. Not angry, not satisfied, just lighter in a way that surprised me. Some support only exists because no one questions where it comes from. Tonight, someone finally